Hey guys, and welcome to or back to the Paws podcast with your host Summer Clark. So, a couple of days ago on Instagram I asked you all to give me your agility myths, as I'm going to bust them today, or most of them anyway. Some are kind of true, I did notice, but yes, I've got 12 myths, so let's get straight into it. So, busting your agility myths. Myth 1 is you need to be super fit to do agility. Okay, so this is an interesting one because it is a myth, because anyone can do agility, and also distance handling is a thing. If you're really unfit, or sorry, that sounds harsh. If you there's no way you can keep up with your dog for whatever reason, then you can teach your dog to do agility from a distance with distance handling, and lots of people with distance handling are extremely successful, and I find it even more impressive doing distance handling because it's a literal skill to teach. If you're easily there next to your dog, then it's quite easy. You know, you're more likely to go clear because you are literally there to show your dog what to do. But if you're relying on just verbals, then that's even harder for the dog to go clear. So that is very impressive. But your need for speed yourself depends on the speed of your dog. So, for example, I had to be fitter and faster with Arrow than I did with Ethel, because Ethel was slower, Arrow was faster, so I wouldn't have had to be as fit with Ethel than I have to be now with Arrow. So, but at the same time I had to talk to Ethel more, so in that sense I did have to be fit. I don't have to talk to Arrow as much because he's already very driven. So it depends upon the dog how fit and fast you have to be. But as much as it is a myth, at the end of the day, the fitter you are, the easier you will find agility, and the more likely you are to succeed without distance handling. So being fit does increase your chance of success in agility, in my opinion. Remember, disclaimer, all of these is just purely my opinion. So yes, it's a myth, you don't need to be super fit to do agility, but I think being, the fitter you are, the easier it's going to be, and I think you are more likely to succeed, unless you're a mega distance handler, because they're another league, they're amazing, okay? So, number 2, you need a collie or spaniel to do agility. Now, this is very interesting. So, this is a myth because any dog that is structurally sound and physically fit can do agility, okay? I'm going to give a shout out. Hayley Dixon's Herbie, little dachshund, amazing. He is literally amazing. He's got all the skills. He's super driven. He loves his job. So you don't have to have any certain breed to do agility, as long as your dog is structurally sound and physically fit. So agility isn't all about speed either, and many collies and spaniels are inconsistent due to their speed. Also there are lots of other fast breeds and crossbreeds out there of that kind of, so spaniel, for example, you've got mini Americans. They're a similar height, but they are just as fast, sometimes faster. Or for collies, you've got, Mallees. They are, again, can be faster in the similar height category. So you don't need a collie or spaniel to have a fast dog for a start. You can do agility with any dog, like I said, that's fit for it. And again, you can have maybe a slower breed, in quotation marks, and actually end up beating a spaniel or a collie because they're so fast they went wrong. So it's very dependent. And yeah, so collies and spaniels are fast, and the faster your clear run is, emphasis on the clear, the more likely you are to win, and agility is progressively getting faster as a sport. So, you don't have to have any breed to do agility, but to be honest, agility is getting progressively faster, and these breeds are fast, so you are probably, going to have a fast dog if you get one of these breeds, especially if you get one from an agility line. But emphasis on the clear, it does need to be a clear round. So again, agility isn't just speed, it is the whole package. Speed, consistency, all of the above, the partnership, the handling, everything, skills, literally everything, not just speed. So you don't just need these typically fast breeds to do agility at all. So number 3 is you need your own venue and equipment to do agility. So it's kind of triggering for me because I would love a venue and equipment to do agility. So many things I'd do with Arrow every single day to progress us faster, but I just don't have the means to do that, so I can't. However, again, all of these are the same. Anyone can do agility. You don't have to have anything to be able to do agility, really. In my opinion, as long as you have the means to train at least once a fortnight, so once every 2 weeks minimum, I think, to make good progress, you should be able to make progress and succeed in the competitive ring. I think if you train less than once every fortnight, then you are stunting your progress, basically. But like I said, most classes are weekly or 2 weekly. But any less than 2 weekly, and I think you're gonna your progress is going to be quite slow. So I would try and train at least once a fortnight, but you don't have to have your own equipment to do that. Obviously, you can go to a class like I do. I go to a weekly class, don't do much agility in between that, and I'm making good progress with Arrow. And to be honest, as long as your dog understands the job and is kept physically and mentally fit for it, which is the bare minimum, then you should be able to make progress and succeed in the competitive ring. So as long as those things are in place, then you will make progress. Again, maybe not as fast as people with their own venue or equipment, but it will still happen if you put time and effort into it. And at the end of the day, having your own venue and equipment means you can train more frequently, and so you should be able to make progress, teach skills and fix issues faster than those who don't, because if you can train every day, progress is going to be faster than if you can train once a week. It's just how it is, unfortunately. But again, we don't always need a massive space. If you have a small garden, you can fit a seesaw, jump, a wing, stuff like that, so we don't always need space. My online dog training is actually very heavily focused on training from home with small space. So if you're interested in wanting to do that, then I can help you with that. Head over to my website, which I will put on the screen right now and in the description box below as well, if you're watching on YouTube, but if not, then it will be in the description on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. But that is something I do specialise in, because I don't have the room, but I still manage to do good quality training in the space I do have. And I know not a lot of people do have their own venue and equipment. That is quite rare. Mostly it's trainers or juniors with parents that do it, or juniors with parents that train. So that is that. It is a myth, but it can help, again, like most things. So number 4 is you need a collie to run in large or intermediate. So this is basically the same as the spaniel and collie myth. So again, any dog that's structurally sound and physically fit can do agility. Doesn't need to be a collie, although they are the most common. Doesn't need to be one. Again, agility isn't all about speed, and many collies are inconsistent due to their speed. So you may be able to beat a collie with a different breed in larger intermediate because they all went wrong because they're that fast. So again, and like I said, there are lots of other fast breeds and crossbreeds out there. For example, a Mallee in larger intermediate could very well beat a collie because they're just as fast, if not faster than a lot of collies. So again, there are other breeds out there that are also great. But at the end of the day, collies are fast, and the faster your clear run is, again emphasis on the clear, then the more likely you are to win. And agility is progressively getting faster as a sport, as I keep reiterating. So, if you want to be very competitive in larger intermediate and you get a puppy, then you're probably going to go for a collie for that reason. But you don't need one. You don't. Okay? So number 5 is your dog isn't driven if they don't like to tug. This is a big fat myth. Big fat myth. Arrow, for example. Arrow hates tugging, but is super driven and loves working for his ball. You won't meet a more driven dog than Arrow now, even though he's had all his issues in the past with nerves. He will do anything for his chuck it ball, so who cares what he works for, as long as he works in a motivated fashion for something, which for him is his ball. So as long as the dog is motivated by some form of reinforcement, e.g. a ball or food, it doesn't matter what it is. So as well, Ethel, she loved agility, but she would run for cheese. So I'd give her Baby Bell at the end of her run, but she was motivated by it, and I'd say Ethel was pretty driven most of the time. So, at the end of the day, tugging does help bring a dog's wild side out, because it gets them growling, it gets them interacting with you and engaging, but drive doesn't depend on it. Like I said, drive depends on what the dog is motivated by. So as long as you find that out, use it to your advantage, and then you're fine. Whatever that is, great. There's something that motivates your dog. Again, with my online training, I can help you find that thing, what your dog loves, and work with that. So instead of fighting our dogs because we want that agility dog that will tug, go with it. Like, do what your dog wants to do. Use the reinforcement that your dog loves, and you'll have way more success. Just don't fight it. You don't need a dog that tugs just because it looks, oh, I've got an agility dog that tugs, it's so motivated. Unnecessary. Use what your dog loves and you'll be sound. So the next one's kind of similar, and it's some dogs just don't like toys. This is an interesting one because I don't think it's entirely a myth. I think some dogs just don't like toys. However, it's a very hard one. So yeah, someone thinks this is a myth, but I don't think it's a complete myth. So Ethel is a foodie, and I've never been able to motivate her with toys, ever. and she's been doing agility her whole life. She's 9 now. She retired last summer, so she was 8 in a few months when she retired, and those whole 8 years she just didn't care about toys as rewards. So Ethel is kind of proof that's not a myth. Some dogs just don't like toys, and that's okay. But to be honest, yes, most dogs can be taught to like toys. Again, emphasis on the most. So building an association between interacting with toys and feeling good. Again, I cover that in my online training. But there will always be dogs that just don't care for them, like Ethel, for example. You can try, if you know how to teach a dog to like a toy, then you can do it. Use those skills that you know. But then if it doesn't work, that's just what the dog's like. That's just that individual dog, okay? So don't be disheartened. Find what your dog loves and roll with it, like I said in the last question. So yeah, there will always be dogs that just don't care for toys. And here's an example you might be able to relate to. So for me, I love chocolate, but not sweets. I don't care about sweets. If I never ate a sweet again in my life, I would not be bothered. But I could not live without chocolate. I love it so much. It is my #1 treat. So therefore, I am highly motivated by chocolate and not sweets. That's just me, okay? Maybe someone could train me to like sweets more than chocolate, or equally as much as chocolate. But at the end of the day, that's just me. I just prefer chocolate. I'm more likely to do something if someone's like, oh, you can have a chocolate bar if you do this. But if they went, oh, if you do this, you can have a packet of sweets, I'd be like, oh, don't really want, no point then, is there? But if it was chocolate, I'd be like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll do it, if that makes sense. So that, I don't think that's entirely a myth. I think there is truth in that myth. It's not a myth, okay? So #7, agility dogs, again, remember, this is my opinion, by the way, just saying. So #7, agility dogs will develop arthritis when they're older. So I'm not going to go into too much detail on this. I talked to Megan Hunt in my previous podcast, so just go back an episode last week's podcast with Megan Hunt about agility dog fitness. We covered arthritis a little bit and her take on it as a vet physio. But in my opinion, the increased wear on an agility dog's joints can increase their chance of developing osteoarthritis at an earlier age. So they might get it sooner than they would have otherwise. I've done a little bit of research and that seems to be what, studies are saying. However, it is very dog dependent, and this is not given for every agility dog out there. So some dogs are more prone to it anyway, just because of their breed, structure, lifestyle, anything. And in fact, maintaining fitness keeps dogs mobile and could potentially prevent joint problems from arising because of this. So you're keeping the dog fit and mobile, you're conditioning the dog's body to with the fitness, you're conditioning the dog's body to take on more strain and be able to deal with that strain and adapt to take on the load of agility and a lot of activity. So it can work both ways, and it's not a black and white answer. Agility dogs will develop arthritis when they're older as a statement, I think, is a myth. It's not a given. Earl and Ethel they don't have arthritis, as far as I'm aware. I think you'd know if your dog had something like that, and they've done agility most of their lives. Well, Ethel's done it all her life, so it just completely depends. And I know a lot of dogs have arthritis that have never done any sport or ever been particularly active. So again, it's just dog dependent. So #8, your parents have to do agility for you to succeed in juniors. Now this is the biggest, fattest myth on this list, because I'm living proof that this is a myth. So I'm the first person in my family to do agility, or any form of dog training whatsoever, in fact. So in my opinion, with a good trainer, any junior can succeed in agility. So obviously I have Lucy, who is my trainer, mentor, everything for agility, and she has helped build me into the trainer I am today. Obviously I've done my own training and my own research and stuff, but having a good trainer, in my opinion, is very important. Obviously juniors with parents that do agility, that's also their trainer, and they're constantly there, so they're probably going to learn more and learn faster because they've got their trainer there all the time at shows, everything. So juniors who run pre-trained dogs may be more likely to succeed in the competitive ring than those who train their own dogs. However, this is not a rule. I trained all my own dogs and they've all been successful and done well. I've achieved great things with Ethel and Arrow. I did run a pre-trained dog once, and I didn't do any better with this pre-trained dog than I do my own dogs. Being a good dog trainer is a skill, and again, juniors can develop this skill without their parents. To be honest, it may take longer for juniors that train their own dogs to catch up to those that run pre-trained dogs, which again I did experience. It took me longer to get up to that level because I was doing all the work myself, whereas other juniors kind of just came in to the same classes as me with dogs that are already trained, and it was just instant like that, obviously. But for me it took a bit longer, but the end result is exactly the same. I got my dogs to a level of those pre-trained dogs that adults trained anyway when I was younger. And juniors with parents that do agility may learn how to handle a bit faster, as their parents are essentially their trainers, like I said, and they're there all the time. So it's probably a benefit. However, it is you can literally succeed in juniors if you train your own dog and you don't have any family in agility, as I've done. I'm proof of that. So if you are a junior and you want to get into agility but you're like, oh, my parents don't do it, blah blah blah, it doesn't matter. You've got to think long term. It might take you a bit longer, but you'll get there in the end just like everyone else, and it'll actually probably feel more rewarding because you've done it all off your own back, which is a great feeling. So that is one that's quite close to my heart, So, number 9, you have to train your dog from a puppy to do agility. So this is a little bit similar. So I think this is a myth because there are lots of rescue dogs out there that succeed in agility competitively. And I think you can't teach an old dog new tricks is a false statement. Dogs can learn at any age. Yes, they may pick it up faster as a puppy, but again, you can still train them when they're older. Yes, it may take a bit longer, but you'll still get the same end result, in my opinion. So, I can't really say much because I have had all my dogs from puppies and trained them for agility from puppies. But Ethel, yes, I had her from a puppy, but I didn't do all the foundation training that I did with Arrow, and she still did really well. Obviously, I'd say Arrow is more skilled because of the foundation training, but I still got on Team GB with Ethel, even though I didn't train her in agility from a puppy. And to be honest, many dogs' agility performances peak at age like 7 to 9. Again, I discussed this with Megan in my last podcast episode. So there's absolutely no rushes there, really. You don't have to feel like you have to rush straight into it from a puppy. Otherwise, my dog's going to get old if he's older and I'm only just starting to train him in agility. There's no rush. Again, even Arrow, who I have had from a puppy, his journey's been long because of all his issues. So again, it's very dog dependent, but you don't have to train a dog from a puppy for it to do agility. Again, any dog of any age can do agility as long as it's structurally sound and physically fit for it, like I said earlier. But to be fair, raising agility dogs from puppies may speed up their progress as they're getting trained during their optimal learning period. So when a dog's young, young brain, really open to learning new things. Yes, maybe this is the optimal learning period, but it doesn't mean you can't train outside of the optimal learning period, obviously. Arrow's going to be 4 in October, and yet he's still learning. I'm still teaching him new things. I haven't even taught him running contact turns yet because of all his issues. So, there is just no rule at what age you can train agility, so you don't have to train your dog from a puppy to do agility. I think people who get dogs for agility, like I did with Arrow, are more likely to train them from a puppy because that is what, they got. I don't want to say that's what I got him for, but I got him thinking I'm going to do agility with him, so may as well crack on when he's young because I wanted to. So it's not a hard rule. Again, it's not black and white. So number 10 is you need running contacts to do agility. This is a very interesting, controversial topic. So I think this is a myth because, again, anyone can do agility. Count the amount of times I say anyone can do agility in this podcast episode, because I say it pretty much with every point. But you can teach a fast 2-on 2-off. Who's to say you can't have a really fast 2-on 2-off? I know plenty of dogs with a really fast 2-on 2-off. I know Dan Shaw was very successful with a dog that had 2-on 2-off, and he quick released it on the end of the contacts, and it did really well. And to be fair, stop contacts can be more consistent, to be honest. So you may be able to win due to consistency over dogs with running contacts that are so fast that they just don't get the running contacts or they mess up somewhere else. However, as much as this is a myth, I've got to admit that running contacts will always be faster. It's just physics, isn't it? Like, if the dog's running off the contact like that, it's going to be faster than if they decelerate. If they're accelerating the whole way, it's always going to be faster than a contact with deceleration in it. That's just science, the law of physics, unfortunately. And agility is progressively getting faster as a sport. So in my opinion, I think you need running contacts to be competitive at a high grade. However, the myth was you need running contacts to do agility, again, which is false. Ethel didn't have running contacts and she did agility and succeeded very well. However, if you want to be very competitive at a high grade, and remember that was in juniors as well, now I'm in adults, if you want to be successful at a high grade, I do think you need running contacts in this day and age. Everyone's got them these days. You've just got to, again, go with the flow of agility, and agility is heading in a faster direction every passing second. So I wouldn't, personally, will never train 2 on 2 off again, unless there's a burning reason, but I can't see what that would be. I will always train running now. And I love it. It's so much more rewarding. I enjoy the journey more as well. As frustrating as it can be, again, often the more frustrating the journey is, the better the destination feels. So yeah, that is just my opinion. You don't need them, you don't need them to do agility and enjoy it and even do well. But I think you need them to do very well in high grades. So if you're looking at big goals such as Crufts, Olympia, winning, stuff like that, because at these big events and in champ and stuff, there's like milliseconds between the top few dogs. So and they've all got running contacts, really. So yeah, that is my opinion. So 11, trainers can only teach breeds that they've owned. So this is a weird one. I never even thought of this as a thing. This is a massive myth. Every breed of dog learns roughly in the same way. Dogs are dogs. They all, we apply the same training principles to all of them mostly, and then make little different tweaks as we learn about the individual dog, obviously, and how their individual brain works. But every dog is different regardless of their breed. So you could have 4 spaniels that are all different and they all learn different. So I don't think breed is really that important. I think all dogs, learn in a similar way, but at the same time, every dog is an individual, no matter what the breed is. And like I said, you can have 5 spaniels and they'll all learn differently. So I think that's quite irrelevant. And to be honest, part of being a good trainer is being able to teach a variety of dogs. So I think it's hard, because if you're going to be a trainer, I think, well, actually no, I won't say this yet because this is number 12. I'll stick with the breeds for now. So having owned a certain breed may mean a trainer is able to understand them faster. However, a good trainer will find a solution for every dog. Okay, which brings me on to the next one, which is 12. You have to have a major achievement under your belt to be a trainer. So again, I think this is a myth. A trainer with a respectable amount of achievements under their belt is likely to receive more interest from potential clients as their achievements prove that they are good at what they do. So for example, I would look at my trainer Lucy and think, wow, she's won Crush, she's won Olympia, she's clearly good at what she does and knows how to be successful at it, so that I want her to pass those skills on to me. Highly accomplished trainers are likely to receive more publicity from their past achievements. For example, Crufts wins, so if you've won at Crufts, how big social media is these days, the news, stuff like that. It's going to be on there somewhere. People are going to hear about it on the TV, whatever. If you do get this big achievement, it's going to be publicised, so more people will hear of you. And then if they look into you and see that you're a trainer, they'll be like, oh yeah, I'll go to this person because they've won Crufts. But the actual reason they found you in the first place is because you had this big achievement. So the achievement kind of makes more people aware that you exist. And then also on top of that, after that has already happened, after they've already found you due to that publicity, they will look into you and be like, oh, I really do want to go to this person now, found out they're a trainer because they've won Crufts. So again, it's a two-way thing. However, and this brings me back to 11, this is like merged between the two myths. Being a good trainer is a skill of its own, regardless of how good the trainer is at the subject they're teaching. So a trainer or a teacher, even in school for kids, for example, can be great at the subject they're teaching, but if they don't have the tact and they haven't mastered the art of conveying information to other people and explaining things well in a way people can understand, and they don't have the skill of demonstrating things clearly, then they're not a brilliant trainer. Do you get what I mean? So it doesn't matter how, if you can know loads, you can have loads of knowledge, but if you can't get it across to someone else, then you can't really teach them it, if that makes sense. However, I believe that all trainers should be highly skilled at the subject they're teaching, regardless of their past achievements. So I think trainers, you need to have a very good understanding of what you're teaching, and you do have to be skilled at it. to be qualified really to teach it to others. And past achievements just promote that. So, me going into being a trainer, so I know I have a very good understanding of agility, and it even proves it to myself by the fact that I've been on the Team GB. If I wasn't good enough at agility to teach it to others, I probably wouldn't have got on Team GB, if that makes sense, and won at Crufts. Like, I'm clearly good enough at agility to get those achievements. I'm kind of qualified to teach it to others in that sense, or that's just how I feel anyway, thinking about myself. But also, regardless of that, I need to learn, and I have learnt, and I think I am skilled at now, is just portraying information to others, explaining, demonstrating, structuring training plans, all of this. Like, regardless of the content of the training, being a trainer involves more than just that. Like I said, you have to explain, demonstrate, you have to structure training plans, you have to give realistic time frames, all of these things. So again, back to the breeds one, it's kind of like a lot of these little things, like, they can only teach breeds that they've owned. It's kind of irrelevant when you think of the big picture of training. Like, there's so much more that goes into it. There's so much more that goes into it than, just these things that people are thinking of, if that makes sense. So there is a lot to being a trainer, overall. Again, if you're a good trainer, you can apply it to any breed. But often, being a trainer, remember, it's actually more about training the person. So if you're a dog trainer, you are essentially training the handler to teach their dog. So you're not physically, it's not like a client comes to you with their dog, hands a dog over to you and leaves. I know some people do offer that, but especially in agility, that's not the case, is it? Like, I don't take Arrow to Lucy, leave him with her every week, go and then come back and he's a trained agility dog, because then how the hell would I handle him? So really, agility trainers especially, they're teaching the handler to handle the dog in the way that will make them go clear, for example. So a lot of being a trainer is actually you're teaching the handler just as much, if not more, I think more, than you are the dog. Okay? So again, there is a lot more to being a trainer than just what meets the eye. But that wraps up my 12 myths. I hope I cleared some stuff up for you. Remember, it's different for everyone. Everyone's circumstances are completely different. And this is all just my personal opinion and personal experience. So don't take it with a pinch of salt. If you can relate to it, great. If you can't, that's fine. You probably are in a different situation. So everyone's opinion of things are different. But at the end of the day, agility is for fun. You should enjoy it. You don't have to have all of these set things. I know there's a lot of pressure these days to have, fast dogs, be really fit, have a really fast dog, and, all these things to reach the top and stuff. But great if that's your goal. Like, that is my goal. So I do all these extra things to help me get there. However, you can do agility no matter what. And as long as your dog is structurally sound and physically fit for it and enjoys it, you can do agility. Don't overthink it. If you just want to do it for fun, there's no point overthinking all these things. There are several things that will probably make you maybe, more likely to do really well at higher grades, but that's not everyone's goal. And I remember I discussed this with everyone when I did my judging course. If you want to hear more about that, it's a couple of episodes back. Which is how the majority of people in agility actually aren't bothered about, reaching really high levels and winning at Crufts and Olympia and Team GB and all that. Most people just want to do agility with their dog for fun and for the lifestyle. It's actually the minority that want to be top level, really desperate for it. Like me, probably, for example, having that as a really set goal for the future. So don't take it too seriously. A lot of these things, it does sound like, I think people think that you have to have all these things, you have to check all the boxes just to do agility. But no, you can do agility, like I said, you can do agility no matter what. But that is the end of today's podcast episode. If you want me to expand on any of these points, or you want more advice or feedback or discussion or anything, DM me on Instagram, on Facebook, on anything. Email me if you really want me to. But I will put all the links to my social media here, including my website, to the online dog training services that I offer, like I said earlier. Yes, they're here on the screen on YouTube, and I will put them all in the description on Apple Podcasts and Spotify if you're not watching. But yeah, that is everything for today. And if you could leave the podcast a rating or review, or both if you're feeling really generous, ideally 5 stars, but you do you, whatever. If you could leave those on Apple and Spotify, I would be forever grateful. And keep sending me recommendations for future episodes, guests you want me to have on, topics you'd like me to talk about, and keep giving me feedback as well. Criticism, constructive criticism, anything, just send me a DM and let me know. I'd love to talk to you guys. And with that, I will speak to you all next Wednesday at 8 p.m, and I really hope you enjoyed listening and learnt something from this episode. Keep sharing around as well if you know anyone that would enjoy listening to this topic or benefit from it at all. And I will see you guys next week. Bye!